Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are bringing today's EED budget hearing to order, where we'll be making our decisions. Just want to give a little bit lay of the land. I know that the paperwork will be put out shortly for you guys to grab in the audience. I also just want to note that this is a very, very difficult year. I know that's not lost on anyone assembled. I just want to thank all of you for your patience, your collaboration, your partnership. I know that we wish we were here in a different set of fiscal circumstances, but what I am confident in is that we will finalize a budget at the end of the day that maintains the priorities of our values and what means the most to everyday Marylanders, but it will not be a painless proposition. So I just want to be candid in that framing. For the benefit of the committee members, to make this a bit more efficient, where it says concur, we will not stop, but when there is a rejection or modification, I will then say something. Now, if you have an objection to something that we are concurring to, agreeing to, feel free to lift your hands up so you can be acknowledged on the record. Do you understand where I'm going with that? Okay, just for, to respect everyone's time, okay? Without further ado.
Just to let you know, you have a couple documents on your desk. One is the decision document, the white document, and that's what we're mainly going to be working for. And you have additional pages in the yellow pages for additional items. We're going to go through, the analysts are going to go through each one of their budget areas. So we're going to start with Madeline.
The Governor's Office for Children begins on page 2 of the white decision document. The first two recommendations are related. DLS recommended reducing the general fund contribution to the Enough Program Special Fund account and reducing the planned expenditure from that special fund by $22.9 million to the mandated level for fiscal 26. The agency disagreed.
The House moves to adopt.
Item 3 on page 3 is at the top there. DLS recommended narrative for a status report on the agency's managing for results measures, and the agency concurred.
House adopts.
For item 4, DLS recommended reducing the Baltimore City Children and Youth Fund grant by $3.5 million due to the mandate's expiration after fiscal 2024. The agency disagreed.
Yes. We're making a modification here to cut $2 million and adopt.
The fifth and final item appears on pages 4 and 5. DLS recommended adding a section to the budget bill to restrict funds from 4 data contributing agencies for the annual out-of-home placements report. Among other information, the report should contain the total number and one-day counts of out-of-home and out-of-state placements. The agency requested that the one-day count be tied to October 15th instead of January 1st, as was written.
We move to modify the date to October 15th and adopt.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move to page 8, which is the Maryland Stadium Authority. The first item for the Maryland Stadium Authority is a $250,000 reduction for debt service. These funds are not needed. DLS recommends reducing it. Agency disagrees.
Move to adopt.
Okay. Second item is for the Maryland Sports and Entertainment Events Program Fund, a $2.5 million reduction. Agency disagrees.
Move to adopt.
The third item is a $1.5 million reduction. This is a deficiency reduction. This for the same program as I just mentioned earlier. For the Preakness agency disagrees.
We move to reject. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Okay, we also have some items in the yellow packet. I'll start with a loose leaf sheet. We're staying on the Maryland Sports Entertainment Events Program Fund. The single page item, what this does is it restricts $1,650,000 so that it can only support the CIA Conference Basketball Championships and cannot support any other event.
Move to adopt. Second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And the final item for the Stadium Authority is on page 2 of the yellow packet.
Of yellow.
This is a reduction to the Racing and Community Development Financing Fund. This supports Pimlico construction. The estimate is that they'll have $527 million in that fund available in 2026. A $17 million reduction, which is the appropriation in 2026, would reduce that amount to $520 million.
Oh, no. Move to adopt. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And now we're back on page 9 of the white decision document. And this is the Maryland Thoroughbred Racetrack Operating Authority. The recommendation from DNLS is to adopt some narrative to get a couple of reports on the status of construction. Agency did not have a response.
Move to adopt.
On page 32 of the white packet, for MSD, the Division of Early Childhood, the DLS recommendation is to adopt committee narrative requesting a childcare scholarship program quarterly report. The agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
On page 34, for Maryland State Library Agency, the DLS recommendation is to concur with governor's allowance, and the agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
All right, moving to page 1 of your white decision document. This is the recommendation for the Historic St. Mary's City Commission. DLS recommends concurring with the governor's allowance, and the agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
Turning to page 11, still in the white packet, for the West North Avenue Development Authority. Item 1, DLS recommends adding contingent language to funding for a new position, and the agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
In item number 2, DLS recommends reducing funding for grants by $5 million, and the agency disagrees.
Move to adopt.
All right, on page 12, for the Maryland Lottery and Gaming Agency, DLS recommends concurring with the governor's allowance, and the agency agrees.
We move to adopt.
Skipping ahead now to page 59, the Department of Commerce. Item 1, DLS recommends reducing the appropriation for travel, and the agency disagrees.
Move to adopt.
Item number 2, DLS recommends deleting grant funding to Ignite Capital, and the agency disagrees.
Move to adopt.
Item 3, DLS recommends reducing funding for the Industry 4.0 program by $5 million, and the agency disagrees.
Move to adopt.
Item 4, DLS recommends reducing grant funding to the Maryland Tech Council by $1.5 million, and the agency disagrees.
Move to adopt.
Item 5, DLS recommends reducing funding for the Build Our Future program by $3 million, and the agency disagrees.
Move to adopt.
On the following page, item 6, DLS recommends reducing funding for the Rise Zone program due to an available fund balance, and the agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
Item 7, DLS recommends reducing funding for the Maryland New Start Micro Loan Program due to an available fund balance, and the agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
Item 8, DLS recommends reducing funding for the Tourism Development Board by $6,366,600, and the agency disagrees.
We actually moved to modify this to take a 50% cut here.
50% of the DLS recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. Items 9 and 10 both deal with the Sunny Day Fund. I'm going to start with item 10. DLS recommends reducing funding for the Sunny Day Fund by $15 million, and the agency disagrees. This is item 10 on page 6.
Oh, item 10. Actually, we're going to modify that to 10 million.
Okay. Okay. And then item number 9, DLS recommends adding contingent language to the Sunny Day Fund appropriation. The action you just took would leave an appropriation of $15 million, so we would, I think, recommend modifying this recommendation to make that $15 million contingent on legislation.
Move to adopt.
Okay, there's also some additional pages. Beginning on page 18 of the yellow packet. This regards the Child Care Capital Support Revolving Loan Fund. This item adds contingent budget language transferring $250,000 of the appropriation to the Maryland Health Benefit Exchange for outreach and a survey.
Move to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
On the following page, these next three items are regarding funds realigned from the dedicated purpose account in the supplemental budget. On page 19, DLS recommends reducing funds for the Certified Sites Program by $3.5 million.
I move that. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
On page 20, DLS recommends reducing funds for the Strategic Infrastructure Revolving Loan Fund by $2.5 million.
I move to adopt. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. There's a question here? Over here? Oh, sorry. I moved to reject that. Moving too quickly. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And then on page 21, DLS recommends deleting funds for IT tools in the Department of Commerce.
Move to adopt. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
All right, and then on the last page of the yellow packet, this is committee narrative requesting reports from Commerce and the Board of Public Works on the use of certain grant funds.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Okay, and then I'm going to move back to page 62 of the decision document. This is the report for the Maryland Economic Development Corporation. This is a non-budgeted entity, and the agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
And then on page 63, the Maryland Technology Development Corporation, DLS recommends concurring with the governor's allowance, and the agency concurs.
We move to adopt.
Thank you.
All right. Moving to page 13 in the white decision document for the Maryland Department of Labor. The first item recommends restricting $250,000 until Labor takes corrective action to address repeated audit findings. The agency disagrees with this recommendation. However, on pages 4 and 5 in the additional pages is a modification. This modified recommendation adds an additional report regarding efforts to establish procedures to match higher education enrollment records.
We move to reject and adopt the additional page. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Moving back to the white decision document on page 14. The second recommendation recommends adopting the following narrative: unemployment insurance performance status. The agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
Moving on to page 15, recommendations 3 and 4 are related. The third recommendation recommends reducing the special fund appropriation for family contingent on the legislation delaying the implementation of the program, while the fourth item recommends reducing the special fund appropriation for the division of paid leave. However, on page 8 of the additional pages,
You said 8?
8 is a recommendation that reduces the special fund appropriation contingent on the failure of legislation delaying the family program.
We move to reject 3 and 4. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion for the record? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. I guess we have to move to adopt this color page as well. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Absolutely. Number
Decision
3.
document already?
No, we're doing that now. That doesn't give you opportunity if you want to speak on the record.
Okay, we have not voted the decision document.
The full document.
Okay, now we're just voting the yellow.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right,
Yeah.
we'll vote for that.
I think the ayes have it on that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
There are a few more items relating to the Department of Labor in the additional pages, starting on page 3. There's a
What page? I'm sorry.
Page 3 of the additional pages. There's a recommendation for deleting $2 million for cyber workforce grants.
Oh, I'm looking in the wrong place. That's why I was like, I don't see anything related to that. Move to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Moving on to page 6 of the additional pages, there's a recommendation deleting 8 new positions for the Office of Strategic Initiatives.
Move to adopt. Is there a second? All those in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
On page 7, there's a recommendation to delete 15 new positions for the Office of Unemployment Insurance.
Okay. Yeah, move to adopt. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
All right, moving back to the white decision document, on page 40. Moving now to the Maryland Public Broadcasting Commission. The DLS recommends restricting $100,000 until the Maryland Public Broadcasting Commission submits a report regarding repeat audit findings. The agency disagrees.
Move to adopt.
Second.
You're fine. Yeah, you can relax.
And the final item is on page 58 for the African American Museum Corporation, and DLS concurs with the governor's allowance.
Move to adopt.
We're in the white decision document, starting on page 6. This is for the Interagency Commission on School Construction. The first item is to restrict funds for a report on measures of school facilities required in Chapter 32, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Turning to page 7, item number 2 restricts funds for a letter confirming submission of mandated reports, and the agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
Then turning for the same agency in your yellow packet to page 1. This is an additional action restricting funds for a report on the development of facility mapping standards.
Move to adopt. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Turning to page 10 in your white packet. This is for the Office of the Inspector General for Education. The DLS recommendation is to concur with the governor's allowance, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Then turning to page 16 in the white packet. This is for MSDE headquarters. The first item is language to reduce 5 positions in MSDE, and the agency disagreed.
Move to adopt.
Item number 2, the second action is on pages 16 and 17, is the DLS recommendation for a report on accounting practices, and MSDE and the Maryland Center for School Safety concurred.
Move to adopt.
Turning to page 17, item 3, the DLS recommendation is for a report on the State Education Agency federal stimulus funds, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Turning the page to page 18, the DLS recommendation is for a closeout report for the Maryland LEADS program. The agency concurred in part. They'd like the date moved, but DLS recommends asking for that report in the next fiscal year.
Move to adopt.
Turning to page 19, the DLS recommendation is for a report on the science of reading and state literacy policy, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Turning to page 20, item 6 is to reduce blueprint for Maryland's future special funds for the Maryland School Leadership Academy by $3.2 million, and the agency disagreed.
Move to adopt.
Item number 7 on the same page is to reduce blueprint funds for the administration of the Concentration of Poverty Grant Program by $1 million, leaving $2 million for this purpose, and the agency disagreed.
Move to reject. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nays. The ayes have it.
On item number 8 and 9 on page 21 are actions that go together. So number 8 reduces general funds to MCSS by $5 million. And number 9 fills this cut with special funds from the Safe Schools Fund, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
And then turning to page 9, For your consideration in the yellow packet, this item is a recommendation on the supplemental budget number 1 to delete 13 positions in MSDE, but leave funding for reclassifying vacancies.
Move to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nays. The ayes have it.
Now we're moving back to page 22 in the white packet. This is MSDE Aid to Education. The first item is a DLS recommendation to reduce the state share of the foundation funds discretionary grants for 2 counties, and the agency disagreed.
Move to reject. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, ayes have it.
Item number 2 is the DLS recommendation is to reduce funds to the seed school contingent on the enactment of legislation delaying the collaborative time per pupil amount.
Move to reject.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Item number 3, the DLS recommendation is for a report on the non-public placement program, and the agency didn't respond.
Move to adopt.
Turning to page 23, item number 4, the DLS recommendation is for a report on the autism waiver program, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Item number 5 on page 23, the DLS recommendation is to make the appropriation for collaborative time innovation demonstration grants contingent on the enactment of legislation delaying the collaborative per pupil time amount. However, for your consideration is a related item on page 13 in the yellow packet. This item is an additional action deleting the funds for this program.
Move to reject and adopt the color page on 13.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Then turning back to the white packet, same agency on page 24. Item number 6, the DLS recommendation is to reduce Blueprint special funds for the Grow Your Own Educators Program by $14.3 million, and the agency disagreed.
Move to adopt.
Item number 7 on the same page is to eliminate Blueprint funds for the Academic Excellence Fund program, and the agency disagreed.
Move to reject.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Item number 8 on the same page is DLS recommendation for a report on enrollment counts for Blueprint Maryland's future programs, and the agency concurred.
That was number 8, correct?
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Turning to page 25, item number 9 is the DLS recommendation for a report on Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Turning the page, on page 26, at the bottom, item number 10 is the DLS recommendation for a report on COVID-19 federal stimulus fund expenditures, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Then we're turning to page 10 in the yellow packet. So the first item for your consideration is additional action that strikes contingent language, reducing funds from the state shared foundation program contingent on legislation delaying the collaborative per pupil time amount.
Move to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
So the next action is on the page 11, and it's a similar action as the previous action, except it is $31.3 million for the compensatory education program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Turning to page 12, in the yellow packet, a similar action. This action is for the limited English proficient program, and the reduction is, struck reduction is $9.8 million.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And then turning to page 14 in the yellow packet. This item is related to the previous 3 for the education effort adjustment.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Now we're turning back to the white packet on page 28 for MSDE funding for educational organizations. The first item reduces funds for Maryland School for the Blind contingent on delaying the collaborative per pupil amount contingent on legislation, and the agency disagreed.
Move to reject.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Item number 2 on the same page is a reduction in the fiscal 2025 special fund appropriation for the non-public school health and security program. However, since MSD has since clarified that these funds have been allocated, so the DLS recommends rejecting this item.
Move to reject.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
On the bottom of page 28, item number 3 is eliminating the special fund appropriation for the non-public school health and security program, and the agency disagreed.
Move to reject and adopt. There should be an additional page, I think.
Yes, on page 15,
Page 15,
there's an additional page. This is a DLS recommendation attached to supplemental bump number 1 that requires the appropriation to be funded with cigarette restitution funds only.
Move to reject and adopt the additional page. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Then turning to page 29, item number 4. This is a DLS recommendation to restore annual language to the Boost program, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Now we're turning to page 35 in your white packet. This is for the Accountability and Implementation Board. The DLS recommendation is for a status report on blueprint implementation, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Then turning to page 57, also in your white packet. This is for the Maryland School for the Deaf. The DLS recommendation was to align funding with state share of the foundation program. There's a technical correction in your yellow packet on page 17 that specifies that this reduction is contingent on legislation, and the agency disagreed.
Move to reject and adopt the language in the yellow page. I said reject, didn't I?
You rejected this.
And reject, excuse me, the yellow page. I apologize. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Okay, we're moving to page 37 with Morgan State University in the white packet.
37.
Item number 1 restricts funds pending a report on the development of East North Avenue. The agency disagrees.
Sorry, it took me a while to get over there. Move to adopt.
Item 2 restricts funds pending a report from Office of Legislative Audits stating all corrective actions have been taken related to audit findings. The agency disagrees.
Move to adopt.
Turning to page 39 is St. Mary's College of Maryland. DLS concurs with the governor's allowance. The agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
Turning to page 45, University of Maryland Eastern Shore. Again, see the University System of Maryland overview for system-wide recommendation. The agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
Page 47, University of Maryland Global Campus. DLS recommended narrative requesting report on the institution's national marketing campaign. The agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
Page 49, aid to community colleges. Concur with the governor's allowance. The agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Page 53, items 1 and 2 are technical and related to the earlier recommendations for Morgan State University.
Are we page 52?
Page 53.
53.
Yes, items 1 and 2.
Item 1, move to adopt. And item 2.
Starting on page 54 is item 3. It's a request for the annual faculty workload report. The agencies concur.
Page 54?
Yes, at the bottom of
Yeah.
page 54.
Move to adopt.
On page 55 is item 4, a narrative for report on the plans for the fiscal 2026 HBCU settlement funds. The agencies concur.
Move to adopt.
On page 56 is Baltimore City Community College. A DLS recommended narrative requesting report on enrollment in the Merit Scholars Program. The agency concurs.
Move to adopt.
in the white pages for the Maryland Higher Education Commission Student Financial Assistance. On page 50, number 1, DLS recommends reducing $5 million in general funds from the fiscal 25 appropriation for the Maryland Community College Promise Scholarship Program. The agency disagrees and wants any reduction to be postponed for 2 years.
We're actually moving to modify the reduction to $3 million, leaving $12 million, and then adopting thereafter. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Number 2, DLS recommends reducing $4 million in special funds from the fiscal 25 appropriation for the Teaching Fellows for Maryland Scholarship Program. The agency agrees.
Move to adopt.
On pages 50 and 51, number 3, DLS recommends for a report to be submitted on the impact of credit completion requirement on financial aid awards. The agency agrees.
Move to adopt.
On pages 51 and 52, number 4, DLS recommends for a report to be submitted on the post-secondary outcomes for next generation scholars, senior students. The agency agrees.
Move to adopt.
Number 5, DLS recommends reducing $5 million in general funds from the fiscal 26 allowance for the Maryland Community College Promise Scholarship Program. The agency disagrees and wants any reduction to be postponed for 2 years.
Modify reduction to $3 million, leaving $12 million, and adopt.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Number 6, DLS recommends reducing $4 million in special funds from the fiscal 26 allowance for the Teaching Fellows for Maryland Scholarship Program. The agency agrees.
Move to adopt.
Now in the yellow pages, additional action, page 16. DLS recommends reducing $8 million in general funds from the fiscal 25 appropriation for the Teaching, Development, and Retention Program.
Move to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Finally, on page 41, for the University System Maryland, the DLS recommendation was to concur with the governor's allowance, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Okay, on pages 42, 43, and 44 for UMB, College Park and Towson, the recommendation is to see the USM overview for system-wide recommendation, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
On page 46 for Frostburg is the same, to see the USM overview, and the agency concurred.
Move to adopt.
Okay, turning to page 48 for Maryland Higher Education Commission. The 2 recommendations, 1 and 2, are to reduce funding for the Selinger formula by $36.7 million and restrict the remaining funding to be used to provide grants to the MICUA institution. The agency disagrees.
Move to reject. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And the 2 are related, so the 1 and 2.
Yep, it goes for both.
And I believe that concludes our business.
Thank you so much for your leadership and for the support of the entire DLS team. I know we have more work to do together, but this is one step forward. And I just want to say thank you to every member of the subcommittee, new and old, for your just patience and leadership. Older, seasoned, you're in your 50th year. It's a big year for you. But just thank you again. And that brings today's hearing to a close. So let's just pop back on and vote out this full document. So I move that we put forth the entire EED decision document. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Of course.
Yeah, if I may, first of all, I intend on voting against this. And it's not because, it's certainly an affront to our committee. I've certainly, like I do every session, I enjoy the time that I have working with you guys. We meet, at least twice, sometimes 3 times a week. And this is an awful lot of work that we put into this, and certainly from our the minority party's perspective, we also want to thank DLS and all of the help that you guys have and the time that you all put into this product. Being from the minority party, though, we're not the ones in charge of making ultimate decisions. And given the fact that we have a $3 billion budget deficit, when we're spending $3 billion more than we did last year, from our perspective, we would much rather see, more structural cuts than we would revenue. It's just a policy difference of opinion. That's all it is. Certainly no disrespect to anyone on this committee, no one in the General Assembly. It's just a difference in policy decisions. And, from our subcommittee, the large part, now, we were real quick in running through this, and we didn't want to mess up your cadence there. But most of the DLS recommendations, particularly for the blueprint, we probably would have taken those cuts if we were in charge, but we're not. But overall, unfortunately, at least I personally we can't vote for this budget because we would have liked to see more cuts, in particular to our structural deficit. But that being said, again, thank you guys, thank the members of the committee, DLS, and look forward to moving this budget out again and the end of another session. So thank you.
Okay. Good. We did a voice vote. Do you want to do a roll call? Do we have to? We don't have to do a roll call. We did yeas and nays. So you got me as a nay. Yeah, I just got to the nays and then you spoke. Felt you encompassed the fullness of the nays. Okay, well, thank you all for your time today. And again, goodbye.